All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Real Life Monopoly Podcast. I'm your host, Jackson Pierce, coming to you from South Carolina, and our guest today is Colin Hughes, who has gotten a super early start to the creative finance world. So, Colin, I'm going to let you introduce yourself a little bit.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me here, Jackson. I'm Colin Hughes. I'm originally from San Antonio. I'm now here at Texas A&M in College Station. I've been in Sub 2 actually for a little over a year. I'm doing real estate for a decent amount of time, and specifically with the wholesaling, probably about 8 months. And I guess I've just recently have had a lot of success with it, which is awesome at this young age.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I, I say every now and then when I'm talking to other people, I'm like, I really wish I had discovered all this stuff when I was in college. Um, I wouldn't have joined the army.
Oh yeah.
But okay, so you're in college. What are you studying?
Just finance. It's my
Yeah.
major. So.
Okay, cool. So I mean, when you picked that major, what were you expecting to do?
Honestly, I mean, I'm a big numbers guy. I'll say
Yeah.
that. So honestly, if I'm being honest, I want to like when I'm an adult after college, I want to do the creative finance stuff. I want to just go straight into real estate.
Hmm.
But I feel like taxes are very interesting to me. So a possible CP, I might be a CPA as well. Just something
Okay.
else that's pretty interesting. But honestly, I like the real estate stuff like a lot, and I've really enjoyed the last 8 months, just like working, learning, and improving every day.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Um, I definitely think there's like a ton of room. It's a very underserved niche, is like real estate, and especially creative finance knowledgeable like CPAs. Just because I mean, we don't get 1098s from all of our properties.
Oh
we got
yeah.
to make it up and we got to go tell our CPA like this is how much interest I paid. I think you promise. Um, so that's really cool. So what your birthday, your 18th birthday present to yourself was getting into sub two? Is that basically what happened?
Yeah, no, honestly, yeah. So I joined a little over a year ago, 2023, July. So I guess I saw Pace's stuff. My mom's also in sub two, which is kind of interesting as well. But if
Mhm.
I'm being honest, I didn't really like take action and do what I needed to do until probably February, January of last year.
Okay.
And then, I started cold calling and I've met a ton of people. I'll give Gordon a shout out. Gordon's one of my partners who I've been working with now. And we've definitely have had a lot of success. I'll say that. And
Mhm.
I'm very thankful for meeting him.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. So is it just you and Gordon right now, or are you working with like a larger team? What kind of are you guys mostly direct to seller, direct to agent? What are you guys doing?
So specifically with Gordon, I work with multiple people, but with Gordon specifically, you're going direct to agent. He's great at closing, so I can just call my leads, pass them on to him, and then he can close it. And it's cool too. We have an integrator, Shad, who gives us the leads. Because when I was first starting, I had to pull my own leads from PropStream and Zillow, and now I have someone else that just gives me free leads. So all I gotta do
Mhm.
is pick up the phone and call, and the good ones I pass on to him, and then the not so good ones I just leave there. So.
Cool. Okay, so it is just you and Gordon though.
Yeah, there are multiple other people, but like,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, there's a couple other cold callers, I guess, that work with us. But yeah, I feel like,
Are they mostly like VAs?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
gotcha. Cool. So you and Gordon, with a couple of VAs, you're pretty much running a whole wholesale business. You are 19 years old. You've been in college for like a year. This is your second year in college?
Well, it's my first year. I'm a
You're
freshman.
okay.
Yeah,
He's a goddamn freshman in college.
yeah, yeah,
He
yeah.
is how much you made through wholesaling this year?
So I got two checks last week. I think I got like a couple of grand from those two, but
Hmm.
honestly, I haven't had much success with wholesaling since I guess recently. I finally got the checks, but I've been working my butt off the last 8 months. But I can
Hmm.
tell you, once you get a couple, more start coming in. It's like a
Yep.
momentum booster, right? So I got 4 or 5 more really good, I guess, leads that I've been talking back and forth to these agents. So I'm expecting to get a couple more checks soon, which is
Nice.
awesome for being 19.
Yeah, that's awesome. When I was in college, I had a ROTC scholarship, and so I was getting like that monthly stipend of like $400 or something, and I thought that was really cool. So I can't imagine you getting like a wholesale check for like an assignment fee that covers the entire year's worth of
Yeah.
monthly stipend, and then, oh, here's another one, and here's another one. That's awesome.
Thank
Um,
you.
that's super cool. It's really impressive that you got such like an early start to real estate and to creative finance. Um, so I want to like kind of create for the audience, like you got into this, like your 18th birthday party, like your birthday present was, I'm gonna be a sub 2 student. Um, you mentioned your mom. Was she kind of a pretty big influence on that for you, or did you guys both kind of get into it at the same time?
Yeah. Yeah. So my mom is definitely a big influence on me. She's definitely helped me a ton. And we both kind of were like, she's a doctor. So she is a pretty successful person, but she's kind of tired of, doing the same thing every day. She wants to do something different. And real estate really like, made her interested in like, she's a very well-driven person. I think that something like this that's harder and it's a harder life because I can tell you, like, from my perspective, I'm working all day. I don't have like much time off, but I kind of learned that from her, like, hey, like you have to get up at early hours, you got to go to work and, do the same thing the next day and the next day.
Yeah, cool. Um, okay, so your mom's so do you have any siblings?
I have one sister. She's like 18. She's about to
Okay,
be 18. She's in
mhm,
high school still. Yeah.
cool. So is she gonna be a doctor, or is she gonna go into creative real estate and be another? Is she gonna be a closer for you guys?
That'd be cool if she could, but I think she actually isn't a real estate, but she's kind of going through her own path, honestly. My mom and I are into the sub 2 stuff. She's kind of doing separate stuff.
Hmm.
But she's a very smart person. I'm sure she'll figure something out for sure. So
Yeah. Okay. Um, so I get this question a lot when I'm talking with other people, because I'm still in the army right now. Um, and so for me, the big question is always, how are you balancing like family time and also being in the army and also doing all the real estate stuff and everything that you're doing. Um, so I'm gonna throw that question at you. I mean, like, I remember I was in college. I went to college at VMI, which it's not it's not the same as A&M, but college is college. You got class, you got a social life, you have pressures to go party on weekends, and you can totally get away with it, right? So how are you balancing um being on a wholesale team, being an entrepreneur, being a freshman in college, and just dealing with the, like, I'm sure there's sacrifices you're making as far as like social life and, like, the college culture and all that. So how are you balancing those things or are you balancing them? Are you just saying, hey, I'm going all in on real estate because in 5 years nobody's going to remember that party that I didn't go to?
exactly. Yeah. I definitely will tell you, I make a ton of sacrifices. Like, to the point
Hmm.
I'm at now, I've made, like, every day, dude. It's 5 a.m. I get up, I have to go to the gym, and then I come back here and I work. It's definitely not for everyone. I'll say
Hmm.
that. And I get invited to a ton of things since high school. And it's sometimes you have to just say no. And because the way I look at it is, in 4 or 5 years from now, when I'm out of college, I want to have money, I want to have success, right? And
Yeah.
it starts here. And if you're blowing your time away to go to a party or do something that's a waste of your time, it's not going to help your future. And a lot of kids, most kids, 99% of kids do that. And then when they're 25, 30, they're stuck somewhere and they can't get out
Mhm.
of it. You know what I
They're
mean?
stuck, and they're starting from scratch.
Exactly.
Which I used to listen to the Choose FI podcast. Are you familiar with it?
No, actually, I'm not. No.
It's a pretty good one. I think that at least one of the hosts had like retired at some point in the last couple of years. So I don't know what's still going on with it. I don't follow it anymore. But there was like a whole couple of weeks where the big focus that they were talking about was how, by going to college, you're basically delaying putting any money into, like, for example, 401k or an IRA for like an additional 4 years. Um, unless, and then when you get out of college, depending on what you studied, like, you may or may not actually have a job that will help you catch up, right? And it's really hard to catch up on like 4 missed years. Like, I missed 4 years, right? I could have put my stipend into like an IRA or something. I didn't. It's fine. I'm good with it. But it'd be cool if I did, right? So I mean, just from like the perspective of earnings over your lifetime, I mean, you're getting a basically a 4-year head start on everybody else that is just in college and is doing the college experience, the college life. And so like I completely agree with you. In like 4 or 5 years, nobody's going to remember whether you went to that party or not. But the crowd you're going to be around is going to be a much higher level of like person than whatever you would be spending your time with, at college at a party.
Totally. Yeah,
So
you are who you hang out with. I'll tell you that. And like
yep,
most of my friends I made now are in sub too, and they're
yeah,
making lots of money. I know guys making six figures a month right now, and it's like I'm the young gun who's trying to be like them. So I definitely am happy I met these people. Like if you're surrounding yourself with people that are making six figures a month versus people who are making nothing and who are partying every day, like which one's gonna be better for you? Like I feel like people just sometimes, especially when you're young, they're immature and they don't see that part
hmm
of it. Because when I'm older, most of these people will be trapped with like a 9 to 5. Not saying that's bad, but they'll be trapped. For me, I don't expect to be trapped. I expect to have freedom and, I'll time my family and I'll be able to do what I
hmm
want to do when I want to do. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
it's definitely tough, like not going to parties, not doing this, not doing that. But at the same time, like I'm happy what I'm doing.
yeah. No, that's a great point. How it's not for everybody, and there's nothing wrong with doing the 9 to 5, but you have to decide whether you want that or if you want to do something else. If you want to do more, you have to do more. And that's a really good point. That in I mean, I guess I graduated high school like 10 years ago, which hurts a little bit to say out loud. Um, but you graduated from high school like in May or June or something, and so I mean, I don't think they're actually teaching that mindset. They're still doing if you get good grades, you'll go to college, you'll get a good job, and then you can start your life at that point. And that educational kind of hamster wheel that they create leaves a lot of people not knowing any other pathway, right? I mean, that's where I was. I finished high school, I went to college, I got a job. um it was for me, it was like the army. Like I got an ROTC scholarship, I went to a military school, and then I joined the army, right? um but for I mean, and whether that's the case or if people are going in and just doing the college and now they're a manager or something, or maybe they're not even a manager. So many people are graduating college and they're still getting those like quote unquote entry level jobs that they're supposed to be overqualified for, but there's so many people that have a degree now that a degree is no longer competitive. It's now considered to be something of a baseline for like a white collar type of job. Whereas there's a lot of other pathways that they weren't exposed to. So I think that's definitely somewhere where our education system has to catch up too.
Totally. Like I can tell you, I guess a little story time. Last year I'll be in
Yep.
class. I'm on Zillow trying to get leads in class. And I'll have teachers tell me, "Oh, what are you doing?" I like all of them. I've had three or four, especially last year, like, "What are you doing? Why are you wasting your time?" Blah, blah, blah.
hmm
And I will say I try to get good grades, but I knew that would not make me great. Getting a good grade in a class is not going to change who you are as a person. I would say
hmm
work ethic, showing up, having discipline, that's what really will change your life. And I'm telling
hmm
you, like the last couple weeks, the last couple of checks I've gotten, it's like, oh my goodness, like if you put effort in, it's gonna come. It might take a year, it could take 3 years, it could take a month, but
Yeah, but
you have
dude,
to
you could
start
have
somewhere.
got an A+ on that book report.
That's what they all say. Yep. Yeah. And I'm telling you, these teachers do. Like, I'm an economics teacher. I'm not going to say her name, but like, I'll be in class and I'll be doing my Zillow stuff. And she'll, like, instead of doing an assignment, I'll be on my Zillow trying to pull leads for later after school, and I'll call because that's what saves me time. And she would like get on me about it. And then I'm trying to be respectful, but at the same time, it's like, I know this is going to change my life. You're
Yeah.
teaching and your false, I guess, narrative school stuff that you're teaching is not going to help me in the future, you know?
hmm No, that's awesome. It's super cool to meet somebody that's like so far ahead of like where I was. Man, I sound so old right now. God.
Yeah, totally.
But it's cool though, because it's like my little brother. He's a junior in college, I think, or a sophomore. I'm not sure which. He's like 8 years younger than me. So he's like a junior or something in college, and he very briefly we had talked about him like wanting to do some real estate stuff. I got him linked in with like a wholesaler. We were gonna do like Gator stuff, and he didn't do anything with it, which is fine. Like I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing the college experience. It's just that there's a delay that's caused by it. You know what I mean? So what would you say to people who are imagine your audience is like you 2 years ago. They're 17, right? They are in high school. They're like trying to pick out college. What would you say, being where you're at now, you've gotten a couple assignment fees, you have closed a couple of deals, and you're a freshman in college. I mean, you've only been a freshman in college for what, 3 months?
Yep.
It's November. School started in August. Um, so you've been in college for 3 months. You've gotten two assignment checks. You're probably just gonna drop out and go and make a gazillion dollars on wholesaling and creative finance and everything like that. Not really, but you might. You might. I mean, really, what would the negative consequences be? You know what I mean?
Totally.
Uh, don't tell your mom I said that. But
Yeah.
what would you tell to like 17-year-old Colin who pretend Colin didn't know anything about sub two or creative finance at the time, but like 17-year-old Colin's like friends who are really concerned about I have to make the soccer team so I can get my soccer scholarship. I gotta make the football team so I can get my football scholarship. I gotta go to college so I can go get my good job. What would you kind of tell them as like a, hey, that's great. There's this alternative, and I'm like, you're only 2 years older than you were then, right? So what would you say to them?
Totally. So I'll tell you, when I was 17, 16, I was a big golfer. I actually talked to some D1 schools, some offers, whatever, right? So
Hmm.
that's kind of funny you brought up that question because when I was like 17, a year and a half ago, like when I was about to turn 18, I had to think like, do I want to do this golf stuff while I go pro or while I do this real estate stuff? And then I really thought about it and I'm like, this real estate stuff is going to pay off. The creative finance is I know it's been existing for a long time, but like the real estate market in the next 3 or 4 years is gonna be insane with interest rates dropping and people are gonna do cash out refinances of their houses and stuff. That's a big thing. But like, I mean, I would tell my 17-year-old self like, you need to figure it out, and that's what I did. I figured it out. And any
Hmm.
other 17-year-old out there, like, you got to think what's gonna help my future the most, doing that sport or being an entrepreneur, taking that risk, or getting a job. You got to figure it out because a lot of these people don't have it figured out. And then by the time it's too late, they're done. You can't, once you have kids, once you're in your high 20s, 30s, and you're stuck with a job, you're done. You can't, there's not much time you have. If you have a family and you have kids, you got to take care of them. You can't, take that risk like me and you can right now as younger people, you know?
I have a 2-year-old and a 5-month-old.
Wow.
You're
That's,
like, you're screwed, man. You are done. Your life is over. I was like,
wow,
oh,
that's impressive. And you
oh.
still, you still have time to like do all this stuff too. Like you're doing like,
I told you
yeah.
I get the question so often because I have a 2-year-old. She's amazing. She's so much fun. She is I felt like she's learning a new word every day. She learned how to say giraffe correctly the other day, just like out of nowhere. She's like, "That's a giraffe," and I'm like, "Who told you that? Who told you? Who taught you that word?" I'm gonna have a word with them. And it's I'm missing a lot right now. And it's exhausting. I'll be honest, right? And so and let's double team this. Talking to 17-year-old Colin, right? 17-year-old Colin's friends who want to get like D1 golf scholarships or whatever. Um, if you get that late start and you want to get off of the hamster wheel, you want to kind of break the wheel of societal expectations of doing your 9 to 5 for 20, 30 years and then collecting your pension or whatever, right? Which pensions aren't even like really a thing anymore for most people. Um, but it's living off your 401k, your IRA. If you find out late that you don't want to do that, it is exhausting to get out of. You miss a lot. I'm doing a lot right now. I have like 3 flips currently going on. I have one more under contract that hopefully will close by the end of the year. That I'm purchasing. It's a really long contract because it's a short sale. The VA needs to approve the sale price, and they're just twiddling their thumbs, I guess. But it's exhausting, right? And I'm missing a lot of the right now time so that I can miss a lot less of like the 2 years from now time, right? But it's definitely a sacrifice, and I would much rather have made the sacrifice of missing like the college experience. In hindsight's 2020. You're talking to Colin in 10 years from now if you hadn't discovered creative finance like at 17, right? So, but I mean that's definitely something to to message to people who are in your shoes or about to be in your shoes of, okay, I'm a freshman in college and blah blah blah, or I'm about to go to college and I want to major in this, that, the other. It there's nothing wrong with getting that 9 to 5. If you decide late that you want to be an entrepreneur, it's gonna suck a little bit. And like there's no way to like sugarcoat that. It's exhausting, right? I'm up till like midnight or 1 a.m. and then I wake up in the morning at like 6 or something, which is not even that early. 6 is not even that early. But I wake up in the morning at like 5 or 6, and I go to work until 5 or 5:30, and then it's back to the real estate stuff, and I maybe get like an hour and a half with my family. Like that's exhausting. It's exhausting, and you miss stuff. Um, and so like really not to make this a depressing episode, like that's you brought it up that like you can get trapped if you get there before you figure out that you want to be an entrepreneur. And I did, right? I figured out later that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I was like, okay, well, I have a really really good reason for pushing through it. Like I know in like a year and a half, I'm gonna have so much time to spend with my family, like way more than my like parents had to spend with me. And so I know that's the goal. My wife knows that's the goal. My 2-year-old can't comprehend 2 years from now, so that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just, but you do miss stuff. You're right. And if it wasn't hard, if I didn't make it as hard as I'm making it right now, then I would be missing a lot less now, but I would miss a lot more in the future for sure. So like I'm super super proud of you for figuring it out like super early like that. I mean you're definitely there's a couple of people in sub 2 I know that are like 18, 19. They're killing it. There's a guy in Florida who is like starting a contracting company, and I think he's mentioned that he's like 19 years old, which just like blows my mind. I'm like 19 years old. I don't even think I knew what contractors did. Like I had like no context for that, right? So that's awesome, dude. So what do you do in your do you give yourself free time?
I definitely try. Like on the weekends, I'll try to have a couple hours where I'm just like relaxing, getting my mind off work and real estate. But I mean, it's a grind, man. Like you said, all these people I've met, like every single one of them, they have one thing in common. They wake up early and they stay up late. I mean, that's just something you have to do. And if you're not willing to do that, then this is not for you. I'll say that. And you're right. Like the way I look at it too is like I'm trying to do this so in the future when I have a family and whatnot, like I'll be able to take care of them and they're not gonna have to worry about anything. And I know that's like you're trying to do too. It's
Mhm.
hard. It's hard. I'll say that. What I do, it's hard. People on the phone get mad at me all the time. Agents tell me to F off every single time. Like, it happens all the time. I'll tell you that. But the few successes you have, and this money in your pocket. So it's hard, like you said, but you just have to push through it. And I mean, I try to relax. I don't relax much. I'll tell you that. Part of this life is not having much time to relax, but you get used to it. I'll say that. You definitely get used to it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, cool. So what do you you're mostly doing, you're doing a lot of direct to seller, direct to agent. You have a couple of deals done. Were both of those just like regular cash deals, or are you trying to do creative also? What is it what does it look like when you start a conversation with, hey, I want to make a creative offer, and then they're like, F off, well, how about a lowball cash offer instead? How does that conversation go?
Yeah, no, that's pretty much right on it right there. Both the ones I have that we've gotten, I think were $15,000 assignment fees around there, and I think they are both hybrid deals. So we would give them some money up front and then do a little seller carry for like 60 months or whatever.
Mhm.
I think that's what both of them were. I'll have to pull up my phone because we have it on my phone. But yeah. So I mean, yeah. Well, typically with Gordon, we do low equity, direct to agent, creative stuff. I work with some other guys that do cash stuff, and we're working on some pre foreclosure stuff right now. So we have a lot more planned in like the next year with that.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, definitely, you're right. Like if the creative option doesn't work, then we pitch that low cash, and they get mad. But like I'm trying to solve someone's problem. I think that's what everyone who's trying to do creative finance does. You're trying to solve another person's problem. If an agent can't sell a property, it's been on market for, I don't know, 120 days. Like, I'm here to help. My goal is to help you, whether it's a liability issue or a DTI issue. I'm trying to solve y'all's problem. We're trying to get the property and, give your seller some money in their pocket. We're trying to pay your commission and we're trying to move on. We're trying to help. And I think a lot of real estate agents don't see it like that. They see it as
Mhm.
someone trying to take advantage of them. So I hope in the next couple of years, once this keeps picking up, they'll start to realize like, hey, like we're people are trying to actually help me, not taking advantage of me.
Yeah, that that is definitely something I've seen a lot of. I don't do a lot of wholesaling myself. I've done a little bit of like direct to seller, direct to agent. I've closed a couple sub twos that I was direct to seller. I Wholesaling a sub two kind of gives me the heebie-jeebies a little bit, because it's especially on a property where like the seller's not in arrears. You are helping them, but it's not in arrears. There's no The credit isn't already trashed. It's like, okay, they sell this to you sub two, you wholesale it to somebody that's responsible, and then then their credit gets trashed later, and it's your fault basically. It's not your fault, but and so for me, it's like I don't think I would like wholesaling subject to. Wholesaling like seller finance deals fine, wholesaling cash deals fine. Um, the one subject to deal that I did wholesale, it's like the only wholesale deal I've done. It's a whole story, but dude ended up being incarcerated the day we were supposed to close. It's a whole thing, but um, the it definitely, like, when you pitching sub two, there's a reason the agents are like wary of it. Like we're seeing, I wouldn't say there are subject to deals that go bad. I have a situation right now with somebody who used to be in the community that he basically non-performed on two properties that he bought subject to, and his partners did not know that he failed to perform, and so the properties are in default with the original loans. He never got the actual login info for the bank, so there's no way to find out what the arrears are. And so they're trying to liquidate these properties to avoid the seller actually getting a foreclosure on his credit when he's like, it's completely out of his hands. Like he bought these properties 2 years ago, so there's definitely like a real risk to sub two that I don't think agents always know all of it. They don't know like the whole process, but that's probably the only thing they do know is that, like, well, if you sell it this way, your credit will get trapped. Um, which for somebody who's already super in arrears, right? Like the worst that can happen is that they end up back where they are, as far as credit goes, right? But for somebody that's not in arrears, it's definitely a um, harder sell, for to agents. But for seller finance and for like lowball cash offers, yeah, they're gonna tell you to f off. They're gonna say no, that's crazy. It's gonna be one of those no lowball offers. I know what I got. Like it's on Facebook Marketplace, um, and then it's gonna sit and it's gonna keep sitting, and somebody's gonna get it under contract at whatever that lowball cash price was, right? And so like might as well be you.
Yep, totally. I think, no, you're right. I know Pace says it too, but literally like 90% of deals that are done are not creative finance. They're not sub twos. They're mostly cash or something else, right?
Yep.
That's definitely true. I think low equity, you have to have the right leads. Like you said too, we have a dispo partner, Dom, that, he calls the buyers. He has to make sure they're qualified buyers. That's a big thing, I think, too, to make sure they're
Hmm.
actually going to pay. That's very big because the whole business model for us is we're trying to build rapport and connections with these real estate agents so they come back to us more and more. You see what I mean? So we get the one deal with this one agent, we'll text her a week later, let's get more rocking. You know what I mean? I think that's how business would work. But I definitely think cash and I think seller financing is way easier too to like convince an agent or a seller to make it work. I think those are way easier. But
Hmm.
Gordon's just an expert at closing with sub two creative stuff. So that's like his niche, you know. So he's just taking advantage of what he has, you know.
Yeah.
But for sure, when I'm actually gonna be licensed myself soon, I'm gonna probably do a lot of sub two stuff, a lot of seller financing, what and whatnot, and probably hopefully pick up some properties on my portfolio, just like you are. But that's in the next year or two, you know. So I just gotta keep doing the wholesaling stuff until I have enough money to start purchasing my own properties, you know.
Yeah. Awesome. Um, so what markets are you mostly targeting? Like, I know you're in Texas. I know people that live in like Ohio, and their major market is like somewhere in North Carolina. Just because like that's where they chose to do their marketing. So, like what market are you targeting? What kind of buyers are you looking for? As far as like, are you I think you mentioned that you're going to start doing pre-foreclosure leads, but you're not right now. So are you mostly just looking for like the shitty houses on Zillow that need a lot of work, or what are you looking for?
Yeah, so my markets typically consist of probably San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, and actually some New Orleans too right now. San
Okay.
Antonio is a hot area, I'll say that. For wholesaling, it's great for sub twos, I'll tell you that. And actually I am doing some pre-foreclosure right now with a different partner up here locally. So like we'll
Hmm.
door knock or whatnot just locally here. Because not really anyone's doing it in this area that we're in. So we can definitely, you know, help with that. Um, but yeah, I mean in San Antonio, that's the hottest area. And that's, I think, there's a lot of properties that it needs like a sub two would work. And a lot of people bought a house in, I don't know, 2021 or 2020, and then a low interest rate. And then now they're trying to sell it. So that's when we come in. And they're VAs too. A lot of them are VAs that are there too, because look, San Antonio's a military town. You see what I
Hmm.
mean? So that's where like the VA, like 2.9% interest rate stuff will come in, or like a 3.1, and then
Yeah.
it's a low entry fee, so it's money for us, you know.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I was having a whole so I'm in Owners Club, right? And I was in Boston last week for the Owner Club retreat, and I was talking to some people about VA loans, because I'm like really smart on VA loans. I've bought a couple sub two. I have my own VA loans that are in my name. I know a thing or two, right? And I am super butthurt about VA loans right now, because I'm seeing so many of them pop up on Zillow as if like these people cannot sell their house. It is impossible to drop the price low enough for them to break even. But also, like, breaking even with, if you get a conventional loan, you put 20% down, and then you go to sell your house, and you don't have any new equity, but you're at least not writing a check at closing, right? Like, you put 20% down, there's a cushion there for you. Even if you have to drop the price below like what you bought it for, or close to what you bought it for, so now you're losing whatever you paid on close. Like, there's a cushion. I'm seeing a lot of houses pop up in like Fayetteville, North Carolina is a market I watch. Jacksonville, here in Augusta where I live, there's houses that are popping up on Zillow that are obviously VA loans. You can look it up on Privy, and it's like, oh yes, this is the VA loan at like 6% interest. People are getting these under contract subject to, and I'm kind of mad at the agents that helped them buy that house, because, and it's not the agent's fault. The service member knew that they were going to move in a year or two, but somebody needs to tell these people that the VA loan is not like a magic trick. Because when I was a lieutenant and I bought my first house with a VA loan, I thought it was like a magic trick. I did it 3 times. The house I'm living in right now, I bought it with a VA loan. Um, and then I discovered that it's not a magic trick after that, right? Um, the there's a lot of people that are listing their houses right now who have VA loans that can't drop the price anymore like to make it market price, market value. Um, and they're stuck because they got like a 7% interest rate, so it doesn't cash flow as a long-term rental. So if they wanted to keep it, they would lose $200 a month on it, $300 a month. And if they don't want to keep it, they're going to write a check for $5,000 at closing, because nobody's going to pay more than what the current loan amount is, plus enough to pay the agent. So I have like a whole feeling about VA loans right now, where I want to try to get in front of agents and in front of like potential home buyers, and just to like explain like, hey, it's cool. You get into a house for 0% down, But if you're leaving in 2 years and this doesn't appreciate, you're writing a check for in 2 years from now. You're gonna write a check at closing, right? Um, because that's what's happening. I had a conversation with somebody in Florida a few weeks ago who, theirs was kind of weird. They bought it at 3.7% interest in like 2020 and then refinanced it in 2022. And with a VA loan, you can refinance 100% loan to value. Um, and so they did that. They ended up with like a 6% interest rate or something. But they pulled out like 100 grand in equity. But then the property sat on the market for like 4 months, 5 months. And when I was talking to them, because I was talking to them on Facebook, so I'd found them in like some military real estate investor group, and they mentioned, we're thinking of doing a short sale, and I was like, oh my god, there's nothing wrong with this house. You just owe too much on it, right? Like the house, it was a nice house. It was in a big lot. It was a nice area. It was near, like outside of Tampa somewhere. And they were considering doing a short sale, which would have completely trashed their credit, like. And I'm like, you're considering a short sale because you're just way over leveraged on this house, and it doesn't cash flow as a rental, and you don't have the money that you pulled out from that refinance or whatever, and that sucks, right? But there's a lot of people who they didn't buy it at a low rate and refinance. They're buying it at a high rate with high leverage, and I mean, things haven't really appreciated the way, like since 2022, the way they did in 2021, right? That was a weird market. That'll never happen again, probably, right? Um, at least not in a way that people will be like, oh yeah, this is just like what happened in 2021. I remember that. Nobody's gonna remember that, right? It's gonna be like, yeah, 2021 was crazy. So I have like a whole thing about VA loans right now, where they're such perfect candidates for like a homestead buyer subject to purchase because they can't do anything else. Like you have to have some kind of like, oh, you're gonna do co-living and rent it out by the room, or you have a really good short-term rental business and you're gonna turn into a short-term rental and mid-term rental. That's the only thing that works for them because they don't cash flow or break even or even close to that as a long-term rental. So I have like a whole feeling about VA loans right now.
Yeah, totally. I think a lot of people, like you said, can't sell their house, and I think the market's going to start to uptrend soon. But in San
Mhm.
Antonio specifically, it's not like the hottest market. So there's a lot of houses you'll see that have been on market for 3 or 4 months, and some of these people need to sell. Like some of them, like they have to sell.
Yeah.
VA or maybe sometimes not even VA, they have to sell and move on. So that's when we would come in. I think some, I guess, sub two groups, other companies that do, that pitch sub two don't have good buyers. And I think that's a big thing. You need to have a good dispo partner and you need to have good buyers who are legitimate buyers. Because if you're messing someone else's credit up and like that's not like you signed a whole thing saying you're going to pay everything off, then you don't, and then now they're going to probably default or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
it's a big issue, I think, but that's what separates us, I feel like, because you need to have good buyers. And that's why a dispo partner is so important, I think, because they build relationships with these buyers who hope they have like the proof of funds. Like these guys you work with have loads of money, millions of dollars in their bank account. So they're not gonna not pay a $1,500 check a month to the bank or whatever. You know what
Right.
I mean? They're not gonna do that because they have so much money. So I think the number one thing is like you need to find a good dispo partner, and then they need to make sure the buyers are legitimate buyers.
Yeah. And that's a good point that a lot of people I've noticed don't give enough like credit to is having buyers that like they've verified that these buyers can perform, right? There's a lot of people they'll go under contract just because you put the earnest money down, and then the buyer ends up not actually being able to find the money because the buyer didn't have the money, right? But they put the earnest money down. They're like, I'm gonna go find it. I've been that buyer. I never like didn't perform because of it. I definitely been that person that's like, okay, I want to make an offer. I think I can find money, right? Um, and so that's a really key point, especially with creative financing, where um, like yeah, these people, I mean, they're paying two mortgages, they're paying rent in a mortgage, they have been paying that for like 5 or 6 months. That's expensive, One of the properties that I bought subject to this year, where I was direct to seller, they had been listed for like 4 months, and the cash I gave him at closing was basically like it was like pretend you didn't actually pay that mortgage for the last 3 months, right? Like, and I mean that was good for him. Like that was helpful. He this house was not going to sell like the regular put it on market, wait for somebody with an agent to come like find you a buyer. You know what I mean? And that sucks because it's like that's expensive for people that like they have to like if you're in the army and you get orders to go somewhere, it's like you can't just hang out until you find a place. Like you have to go find a place, and getting rid of your house is up to you. You're completely right about that. So and subject to is like a great way to help people do that. And I would say, especially in your market around like San Antonio, around like Killeen out near where Fort Hood. What do they call Fort Hood now?
I forget honestly, but yeah, I know where Colleen's at in Temple,
Yeah,
like that area. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, like like those areas where you're gonna have a ton of VA loans, you're gonna have a ton of over leveraged houses. Like those are great for like marketing as like an assumable loan. Um, but when they're over leveraged like that, it's just hard. It's a tough spot to be in as a seller, as a I'm sure as an agent too, because like the listing agent, it's not their fault, you know. Like it's almost never their fault that the seller is like way over leveraged on the property. It's whoever their buyer's agent was, when they bought it, you know. And so it's just like one of those things that it sucks, and there's not really much that you can do about it, other than like list it and hope that it sells.
Yeah. And I think it just depends on the market conditions. If the conditions aren't good, then it's going to be really hard to sell. And that's kind of when we would come in, I guess. But I think I will say the market's going to pick up for the next couple of years, man. Real estate's going to boom. Appreciation, it's going to go up. It's going to, the next few years are going to be crazy. I have a bold prediction about that. But I think
Hmm.
I want to start buying soon because, I mean, it's a great time to start buying soon. I'll tell you that. So I know
Yeah,
you're probably going to do your fair share of buying too. But like
doing my
the
best.
next few years, yeah, 100%. It's going to be real estate. The next 4 or 5 years is going to boom. That's like I
Hmm.
think a lot of people can agree on that too. Um, I don't know. We'll see what happens, I guess. But yeah.
So have you okay, so um of the two properties that you wholesaled, they were both cash deals, right?
No, they're like sub two hybrid.
Oh,
So
okay, cool.
yeah, yeah.
Um o- of those, was either of them something that you're like, man, I really wish I could keep this?
I'll keep both of them. I wish I could have. I still, I
I'll
still,
keep all of it.
I'll keep.
Don't
Yeah,
make me don't tempt me with a
yeah,
good time.
yeah. No, I'll keep. I would keep both of them. Both of them were. I think one of them was a 3.125 rate, and the other one was like a 4% rate. So, 100% I would keep both of them if I could have. But yeah, I mean, I'm just not at that point yet. I'm hopefully in the next few years I'll be able to start purchasing my own, just like you are, and doing some fix and flips. But I just need more money, you know. So
Mhm.
that's how I'm gonna be a licensed agent. I need to get as much money as I can so I can do that, and then just keep expanding from there.
Yeah. No, that's a great that's I mean, really that's it's good that you have like what your plan is, right? Because I mean, I never had a plan. I'm just making it up as I go along right now. Which again, it's a little bit exhausting, but it's okay. Um, so if somebody wanted to do a deal with you, they have a lead in San Antonio, and they're just having like they're having a hard time with it. They need somebody to, the seller just really like they need somebody with a different kind of like personality or something. Like how would they get in touch with you to say, hey, will you help me like work this lead and JV this?
Yeah, I mean, on Facebook or Instagram, definitely. If like someone
Mhm.
needed help, I'd for sure be there to help. And I have a partner, Gordon, who I could definitely refer anyone to, and he's a mastermind at closing. So either
Okay.
me or him. But
Mhm.
he's been huge to me and my success, and I'm going to continue to work with him. We're going to keep having success. I feel like it's all about who you know. Like your net worth is your network, right? So
Yep.
you need, yeah. So that's very important because like if I go on my phone, I call him right now, he'll answer. You need someone like that who's going to be there to help you and push just like he's pushing because he actually was an actor. He moved out to do this, and he's had I think over six figures in assignment fees already, and he's only been doing it for 7, 8 months. So he's been doing lots of business. So I think the most important thing is if you need help, go get it. Whether it's from me, you, or anyone, you need to go talk to someone who can who can definitely give you feedback and advice and actually help you, because it's not hard. Like, there's enough real estate for everyone to share. There's enough
Yeah.
that's on market or off market that everyone can have a piece of it. Not one person's gonna get everything. So I think a big thing is, if you need help, you have to, grow some balls and ask. You need to go text someone, you need to go find someone on Facebook or Instagram or whatever it may be, who can actually help you move forward with this, whatever property you're trying to close.
Mm, yeah, that's awesome. Um, cool, man. So you have this is your last chance to like parting advice to the audience. You're 19. You're talking to people who haven't started being an entrepreneur yet, whether they're 29 like me, or they are 17 and they're about to finish high school and they think they're going to go major in um English. um
That's
talk to the English majors. Like, what do we do? How do we
well,
get started? How do we decide? Okay, I don't want to be an English major. I want to be an entrepreneur. Like, last thing.
I will say, if you do the English major, that would be very difficult to make a lot of money. I'll tell you that. But you never know. You never know. So, yeah, I think it's all in your mind. Like, I feel like, I'm not going to say like you're born with it or not, but you kind of are. Like, you have that something in your mind that just tells you, I can't do that normal thing. I can't be like the 99% of people. I want to be someone different. And that's kind of what my perspective was. Is I knew most people don't work as hard as I work. I outwork everyone. And I'm sure you have that mindset. So you have to go to work every day. Even if you don't feel like you have to. And I would tell any young person, if you want this bad enough, you'll do it. Whether
Hmm.
it's help from me or whether it's by yourself, you're going to do it if you want it bad enough. If you have to do it and everything's on the line, you're going to do it. So those English major people, I mean, if you want to be like a librarian or a teacher, that's cool. We need teachers and
There's
stuff.
nothing
But
wrong with English majors, guys.
nope,
Just
nope, nothing wrong with that. But I will say that you could still do that and then pick up real estate too. I think real estate's a great niche to get into, but also there's online sales, there's e-commerce, there's so many ways to make money. There's so many ways. People don't understand that. There's so many. You can make money from anything. Like, you can make a button make millions of dollars if you're widespread enough. So I would tell someone, just find what you like and just really go at it. And, I'm in college now and I'm still able to balance my time between school and this. I'm working all day, but anyone can do what I can do. I'm not like a special person. Anyone can
right.
do this. It's just really hard work every day, and you
You
have
weren't
to have
born with the
discipline.
secret sauce.
What do you say?
You weren't born with the secret sauce.
I think I was, but I was. Yeah. Yeah, but it's definitely hard. I know a lot of people in sub two. That's why I like sub two. Everyone here is like works their butt off. I can definitely tell you, like, people, like, if you want it bad enough, you'll get it. I promise you. It might take a long time or it could take a week, but if you want it and you want to get out of your comfort zone, then do it. No one's stopping you.
Yep.
If you live in America, no one's stopping you here. Just go and do it. You know, it's not hard. You just gotta put the work in.
Hmm. Awesome, dude. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on my podcast this morning. I know we had some technical issues last night and everything had to reschedule, so I appreciate you coming on. Um, you can just drop your Instagram handle and or everything, like how do people get in touch with you, because I know there are a lot of people that are going to want to JV with you, and what's the best way to get in touch?
Yeah, so Facebook, just Colin Hughes.
Hmm.
Instagram, it's Colin Hughes 2121. I could send it to you after too if you want to link
Sure.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have any questions or anything, I can definitely help. I know a lot of people that could help you as well with Dispo. If you need a Dispo partner, you need an acquisition person, whatever it may be, I can definitely help with that. And it's not hard. You just got to pick up the phone and show up and do what needs to be done every day. So I
You just
definitely will
gotta
tell you. Yeah.
work every day.
Yeah, look at me. I'm a 19-year-old kid who's transacting. Not many 19-year-olds can say they're transacting on wholesale deals. Most of them are partying, like you said earlier, or doing stuff that they shouldn't do. So I think
Right.
anyone can do what I can do. It's not hard, but you really have to have that mentality and you really have to go to work every day, because it's not easy. I'll tell you that. It's brutally hard. It's mentally
Yep.
challenging, but you have to show up. That's number one. And it's possible. I promise you. To make money, it's possible. To get those checks, it's definitely possible. You gotta go to work.
Awesome. What are you doing after this? Door
I'm gonna
knocking? Cold calling?
um I'm gonna probably look at some of my leads, just text some agents, just catch up, because it's Sunday. So typically when you do direct to agent, I wouldn't call on a Sunday but
Mhm.
maybe sellers, we have some pre-foreclosure stuff we're talking to, so maybe get a hold of them. But I'm gonna probably do some relaxing today, get my mind off everything because tomorrow I got a lot of work to do, So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
awesome, dude.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks again for coming on.
yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me here, Jackson.